that does bring us to maybe our next topic on the list right now. When it comes to Paradise Pier, we all know that particular hotel intrudes quite heavily on the magic over there at DCA, and this might implicate its future.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk a little Paradise Pier Hotel, because there was a rumor that was posted today from Disneyland News Today. Now, this is like the Disneyland subsidiary, so to speak, of WDWNT. Okay, so it's the same company. It's just this is the Disneyland wing of them, basically.
Yeah.
And they're saying here, this was dropped just a few hours ago. Concept art, Toy Story Hotel planned to replace Disney's Paradise Pier Hotel at the Disneyland Resort. And here are some leaked, concept art plans for the hotel, which looks, okay, And they did preface this, though, at the very end. And I'll link this down below. You guys can kind of go through this on your own. But they did preface it saying that this was basically pre-Pandy.
Yes.
And things may have changed or canceled in the aftermath of the Pandy. Now, here's the thing when it comes to this plan. For me, it's kind of bittersweet. It's kind of good and it's kind of bad. It's good that there is a plan. At least there is some plan to sort of fix the Paradise Pier Hotel problem. Paradise Pier does not exist anymore. All right. So at least it's good to see Disney is actually working with some concepts to sort of address that issue. That gives me a lot of encouragement. But when it comes to Disneyland Resort, I like to think big. I'm a big proponent of even a third gate, really trying to go beyond the status quo, do more than, shoot for the moon, basically. Right.
Yes.
And the thing that really kind of frustrates me with this move, there's a lot, but the main thing is that Disney just recently opened on March 1st, the Galactic Star Cruiser, which is really this cool kind of blending of like a hotel and the theme park experience.
Kind of an escape room meets murder mystery, meets immersive story, meets hotel, meets cruise, in a kind of with a theme park, thing. I mean, it's pretty ambitious.
It's pretty ambitious. And I was kind of hoping, and I think I mentioned this actually on that Galactic Star Cruiser video a few weeks ago, but I mentioned how Disneyland Forward is a real opportunity for Disney to go all in, to really lean into that whole idea of these immersive hotels that are really blurring the lines between a hotel and theme park. And the reason why Disneyland Resort, in my opinion, would be on the forefront of that is because you have two major hotels, Disneyland Hotel and Paradise Pier Hotel, that will potentially be sitting inside theme parks if Disneyland Forward moves forward. I was hoping, I'm still hoping, because it's just a rumor, but I'm hoping that they go more that route in real creative, innovative ways of infusing these hotels into the theme park space that they build around them. That's what I want them to do. This seems like kind of a Band-Aid approach. This seems like, okay, we're going to go ahead and retheme it to Toy Story because Pixar Pier, and we'll go ahead and we'll throw some giant figurines in the lobby, and it just feels to me so uninspired. And what it also does, unfortunately, is it kind of forces Disney to do even more Toy Story in DCA, because that whole area around that hotel is proposed to be more theme park space for DCA. Well, what happens now when you have a giant tower that's decked to the gills with Toy Story? Well, now you can't put any other theme around that hotel. It has to be another Toy Story area, because you can't put Encanto or Coco or anything else there, because it's not going to really work. Because it's now you have this giant monstrosity that's screaming Toy Story.
Yeah.
It's just, for me, I just want them to go more ambitious. I think Toy Story is not the way to go. We have so much Toy Story. Toy Story in general, while it's a fantastic franchise on film, I don't think it translates as well in the real world. It always looks cheap for some reason. Even the Tokyo stuff that they're doing looks cheap.
Man.
You know?
Oh, let me just play it right here.
We've made mistakes. I have made mistakes.
That is a mistake. That was a mistake. That was a mistake. Please, you know what? Disney, apologize.
And I got to own that. And so I want to apologize to you. And I got to own that.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. I mean, that's a travesty.
It is.
It's really bad.
It's bad. It's bad. Where are you at on this, Dre? Like this hotel? Like, are you kind of like where I'm at? It's kind of like you're glad to see some movement on it, but you're disappointed at what they're proposing, or?
Okay. Well, maybe I can help quell your fears and your. Yeah, obviously, this is disillusioning, and I will agree. Like, this was not quite what I expected. This was not quite what I had envisioned, or what I had in mind, or even what I had heard. And here's the most important thing: this wasn't the plan; it was a plan for, for this hotel, right? I think there was an idea like, hey, can we redo this at least for the interim and provide Disneyland a desperately needed kind of themed hotel, at least just for now, until we get more of our ducks in order. Remember, there was a lot of stuff going on right now. There was the West, there was the Eastern Gateway project that was on again, off again. That was another city battle, by the way. Right. Ironically enough, we just had that conversation. But remember, that was going on. And then another city battle with the hotel, which has now, really affected downtown Disney even today. They've now adjusted their plans once again. These things change all the time. And what happened? The Pandy happened. And the Pandy, that changed everything. That affected everything. There's no question about it. Even Bob Chapek even talked about it. But it's interesting. Little side note, a little digression. But Bob Chapek was asked during the shareholders meeting about, hey, what's happening with the Avengers attraction, Avengers e-ticket attraction? What's happening with the Mary Poppins attraction that was going in at Epcot? And he pretty much confirmed what we had been hearing for a long, long time now, that they had liquidity issues, that they had, issues with, capital expenditures, and they had to put the brakes on it in order to, to do what was fiscally responsible for the shareholders and for the company, right? And he said, hey, a lot of these ideas, hey, they might be back on the table. They might be canceled. We're going to have to go, at a time when we can actually do them and do them responsibly, go back and kind of see what makes it, what doesn't. So those concepts are truly dead. Maybe some dead more than others, but I think this one is one of those, right? Okay. Because remember the timeline. This may have been worked on. Then the Pandy happened. And then right after the Pandy, it was Disneyland Forward. Disneyland Forward gets announced after the Pandy, not before. And that would have changed everything. And that may not include whatever incarnation the Paradise Pier Hotel takes going forward. Now, it might be included as part of those plans. They might, take on this building once again. But remember, Disney didn't build this building; they inherited it. Right. They bought it as part of a big land acquisition for when Disneyland became Disneyland Resort back in 2001. So it's like, I don't think they've ever been in love with this thing, and that's why even on the concept art that you're showing right now, they aren't throwing too much money at it. Mm-hmm. Right? I think it was just something to kind of give, hey, let's give them maybe 10 years worth of entertainment before we decide what we're officially going to do with this. So, and I will say this, Corliss and the team at Walt Disney World News today, they have been, their leaks are actually pretty decent. The Disney company tries to thwart them, but there is validity in some of their claims, and this concept artwork does look fairly legit, but it also looks like something that was maybe a plan and not the plan, and I don't think it's the plan going forward from this day out. So that's why I'm kind of like, yes, I'm disappointed with the concept and what it looks like right here, but I understand maybe where they were coming from and how things have changed now.
Yeah, no, completely. This is pre-Pandy, number one. Number two, it's also pre-Disneyland Forward, because we still don't know if that's been approved yet. And I think once Disneyland Forward gets approved, which I do think it will, but once they work that out, I think all bets are off when it comes to these hotels and what they want to do. Everything is a very fluid situation. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how all this pans out. I hope Disney, though, goes ambitious. I hope they go more in the vein of like these like the blending of theme parks and hotels. If these big hotels are going to have to be in the theme parks themselves, make them part of the experience in a real cool way, like the Star Cruiser and stuff like that.
Yes.
That's the way to go. Go bold, go big. And I think that's the way to do it. This feels like what you said, very temporary. It'll buy us maybe a decade kind of change, which is fine. Hey, look, if purse strings, whatever, you can't because of the pandy, things are tight, budgets are tight, and you got to do it. Hey, I'll settle for this, no problem. At least they're addressing it. At least it's not Paradise Pier anymore. At least it makes sense a little bit with Pixar Pier. Then fine,
Right.
But I think ultimately, I really want to see Disney go a little more bold when it comes to Disneyland Resort and the blending of these hotels with the theme park space around them. They have a real opportunity here, because of the way that Disneyland Forward is going to be kind of structured with everything kind of mixing and like mixed use. Real opportunity, and I hope Disney doesn't drop the ball on it. Don't play it safe, Disney. Don't play it safe.
I hope they don't, but I mean, we're seeing cuts all over the company, unfortunately. I mean, we saw cuts in the Galactic Star Cruiser. Mm-hmm. It cuts to weird stuff like food and even staffing now. Apparently, the staffing levels that were that existed on the first opening cruises for the media and maybe one or two after have now been cut by like half from what I understand.
Wow.
Like and that's a premium experience. So I wish I had more good news, guys, but there's just not a lot of hope, at least for the time being. And hey, maybe this idea comes up again, but it would be as for the time being kind of plan. I don't think this is, this is maybe within the 5-10 year range plan, right? This isn't in your 50-year plan. I don't think.
Right. No,
I don't
not
think
at all.
I don't think this. But I will say though, you make an interesting point. Immersive hotel experiences that are kind of an extension of the theme parks themselves. I think that's a very attractive idea, especially for Disneyland, right? And we've seen this with like Disneyland Paris's Disneyland Hotel and how it's like their entrance for their Disneyland Paris theme park. We've seen like even here domestically at home with what is it the Grand Californian, right? And how that is kind of an extension of California Adventure, that story in a lot of ways. And so for a space limited kind of resort like ours, I think, like you said, OG, I think a resort kind of immersive experience, kind of this hotel being an extension of the themed lands is the way to go. It's interesting. Tony Baxter had a lot of ideas for, you mentioned Westcott earlier. He had a lot of ideas in this realm for Westcott when it came to that kind of plan there. Like, what if you could stay at like an Egyptian hotel and you had Egyptian themed attractions on the bottom floors while people and guests stayed at the top, and I mean, what if you had like an Asian section where you had maybe a Great Wall inspired coaster at the top with dragons and so forth, and maybe you had maybe a show or theater space down below, and you could, as part of your stay, you could you could kind of engross yourself in Chinese culture and do Chinese or Asian inspired activities and so forth. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that they were looking at, and that was back in the 1990s.
Wow. And that's the kind of ambition. That's the kind of outside the box thinking that I want to see with Disneyland Forward. Yeah. I really want to see them dust off some of those plans, or even those, not even necessarily the exact plan, but the concepts of the hotel with the attractions underground, things like that. I want them to sort of, when it comes to Disneyland Forward, really take that innovative outside the box approach. I don't want to see them just, throw a couple Buzz Lightyear figures in the lobby and call it a day. I really want them to go in a real innovative, cool direction. You have all those great concepts, like you said, with Tony Baxter and Westcott and what have you. It doesn't have to be necessarily the same theme. You can even make it, because a lot of the Westcott stuff was not IP. You can tweak it where it is IP, because I know that's
Right.
the industry right now. I mean, they're not going to do things that are not IP. But if you
No.
want to take the concept, the general idea of those things, and utilize it in a way where you can incorporate your franchises, that's the way to go. But that's what I want to see them do, a real creative use of this space, because Disneyland does not have a ton of space. You're going to have to get a little creative and make the best of it. And I think that's the way to do it, you know. But
I think so. I mean, what if? Wouldn't it be crazy if, you know, we know that Avengers E-Ticket was going to have like a huge show building, right, attached to it. Well, what if you made it even taller and made it into a Marvel hotel on top and the attraction below, right? And in kind of the same vein of the Paris version of the kind of Marvel hotel, but maybe even more engrossing, more immersive, and that story extends to Avengers Campus, not too dissimilarly as, you know, Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser extends to Batuu and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. That kind of stuff, that excites me for sure.